How we doing, bro? We good?
I'm good, bro. I'm very, very good. Round two.
Round two. This time we're actually gonna have good camera angles and shit. Because what it was is that when we recorded in the last one, I knew it already, being a sound guy, that because we were in an open space and he had the condenser mics, and the condenser mics just pick up everything in the room, and we were in some massive rooms, so the audio just sounded terrible. But with mics like these, they're more dynamic, because you can use them outdoors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So I want to start with the gym and lifting weights. I want to talk about health in the gym, but I want to talk about lifting weights specifically, because I feel that there's something to lifting heavy weights that is different. Like, I like doing cardio, I like lifting weights, but lifting heavy weights is probably my most favorite thing. And what do you think it is about lifting heavy weights?
I don't think it's anything too. I think different people get different highs from certain things.
Yeah.
So like for me and for yourself, then it's just being under heavy load and it's uncomfortable. Yeah. Whereas some other people, like my sister, she loves to run. Yeah. Whereas I'll go for a run and I don't get that same feeling. Like, I don't get that. I just don't get it.
Whereas I like doing both though, so I can understand both.
Yeah.
Because I think essentially what it comes down to is literally moving your body.
100.
Like getting your heart rate up. I think that's essentially what it comes down to. But I will always lift weights, and sometimes I might skip running. So that might show you that. You know what it is? I think running's more difficult, I'd say. Purely because I have more interest in lifting weights. I think because I enjoy lifting weights, because definitely leg day is one day that I've been avoiding recently, but you're not going to rate me. Like I did it yesterday, but like before that it was 2 weeks. Before that it was 2 weeks. Because a leg day, bro, it's just one of them ones. It's that day. It's like, I see why people skip it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
But it's the most important day. Like, it's your biggest muscle, isn't it? But you know what it is? It's the thought of leg day worse than actually what leg day is.
Yeah. 100%.
Like when you're in the rhythm, it's actually sick. But the thought of going there before is not the one.
But see, maybe then I'm just not getting that runners thing, because maybe I actually just find it too difficult. Maybe I'm just difficult. Like, fuck this. Like when I've done that 5K, bro, I was blowing.
Yeah,
I was absolutely blowing.
Cardiovascular is difficult, especially if you've been out the loop. Because when you was athletic, when you was like doing basketball, did you enjoy running then, or did you still hate it then?
I didn't. The thing is, I was actually pretty decent at just like moving, running, all that shit. I actually was okay. I was okay, but like, I didn't really enjoy it that much. But if a coach was like, we're going to run laps or whatever, I'd be like, okay, whatever, I'll do it. But it wasn't enjoyable. It was never really like, yeah, I'm going to go for a run today.
Is it cardio or is it running that you don't like?
Running. Because if I was to do cardio, I wouldn't pick running.
Yeah.
I would do something completely different. I'd like go on the row machine or like
the row,
do the ski or like bike.
I've never liked the row machine, man. It's more like similar to weightlifting, but at cardio. But like, yeah, I think running for me, it's just, you can get a lot out of it in a short period of time though. Like in a 3 mile run, it would take like 20 minutes, 25 minutes. You get a lot out of it. Like you get what you'd get out of like an hour and a bit weight session in terms of like the heart rate and the workouts. I feel like, yeah, that's why I kind of like, and also just like, you know what it is? I just like feeling fit. And like, you can lift weights, but I feel like if you don't do cardio, you're not really, your heart's not going to be as healthy as it could be. Do you know what I mean? Of course, 100%. So that comes on to my point now. So do you think bodybuilders are healthy? Do you think it's like, because you know how like health and fitness, it kind of goes hand in hand with body. The first thing you kind of think about is bodybuilding. Okay, maybe not, but it's...
But it's mad, isn't it? You think fitness and you think of someone's physique, right? Like you look at someone's physique, he's like jacked, and you're like, okay, he's fit, right? Like you probably think like, okay, that's fitness. Yeah. Which I don't think is a good thing.
But it's like, so why are most PTs wham? Or maybe they're not.
No way, bro.
But do you think most PTs are wham?
No way.
It's not all of them. I guess there are like slim athletic PTs. But it's like, why do you think that people gravitate towards, like for your example yourself, that's wham? Why do they gravitate to you to hold them accountable for like their health? Is it because they see you, because they must see you as healthy, innit? But even, I'm not saying you're not healthy, but as in like your cardio health probably isn't as, because if you're blowing after a 5K run, that's a bit mad, do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? But it's but I guess it comes down to goals though, doesn't it really? Because I feel like maybe you hate cardio because your goal is to put on mass for shows or whatever you want to do. So it comes down to sort of like individual goals, I guess.
I think people that look at me, they care about how they look in it. Yeah. They're more like, I want my physique to look different.
Yeah.
Whereas they might look at someone else who's like running or doing certain cardio, like, I want to just get healthier.
Yeah.
But I think in people's minds anyway, I think they just look at a physique and they're like, that's health. I don't think, I've never said bodybuilding is healthy though. It's not healthy, man.
But it comes down to this whole thing of like, how like, you look, it's like, you look at an obese person and say that's unhealthy. And then you look at a slim person, you maybe, you wouldn't assume they're unhealthy, but they could be just as unhealthy. Do you know what I'm saying? It comes down to that thing of like, what you see is kind of what you assume first, but that's not necessarily what the case is, where there could be a big guy, jacked, but he's on top of his cardio and he's healthy or healthier. Or there could be like a slim guy, but he's not healthy. Do you know what I'm saying? But it comes down to what you see. I guess that's, I don't know.
So I feel like, I don't know if that's let's say you have someone that's obese, but would you compare that to someone who's slim, or are you comparing someone who's obese to someone who's anorexic? So I look at someone who's anorexic, I'm like, that's an extreme. Obesity is extreme, anorexia is extreme.
But also, I feel like you can smoke cigarettes, you can eat shitty food, and some people just have the sort of the metabolism to not put on weight. So they could literally be as unhealthy as an obese person, do you know what I'm saying?
For sure.
It's what the eye sees first. And if you see like a slim person, you could probably tell by maybe their skin and other things that indicates that like they're not necessarily as healthy as they could be. But it just comes down to that thing of like, but at the end of the day though, there's an energy when you meet people. You can tell if a person's like sloppy or on top of his game, or just in terms of the way they carry themselves, just in terms of the energy. Because it's like if you're not taking care of yourself, your energy is just going to be way down. Like, do you know what I mean?
Which is something that it's weird. I actually don't know if I've told a few people this, but I feel like when I first started the job of just training people,
PTs.
Yeah, like I feel like I was just a bit like not understanding of people's situations. As in like if someone was obese or like their first part, like they don't enjoy the gym like that. Like I go to the gym because I enjoy it, and regardless, like just go and get it done.
Yeah.
So if I'm like giving certain people instructions and that sort of thing, and they don't do it, I'm like, cool. But then you kind of got to change and be more understanding, because everyone is different. Like the gym is not everyone's first love. Some people fucking hate the gym, man. Like,
yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But you don't need to go to the gym. You just need to get exercising.
Yeah.
And I feel like a part of the exercise is you need cardio training, you need some sort of heart rate cardio training, and you need some sort of muscle building training. You don't have to get wham. You don't have to become like, I don't know, like Eddie Hall, do like strongest man, or you don't have to become like Simeon Pandon or whatever these guys. Like you just have to get cardio in and build muscle. Yeah. For longevity, because you want muscle. I think this is another thing as well. It's like with like bodybuilding and stuff, I guess they're taking it to the extreme. They want to look good, but at the same time, it's like you just want muscle to be strong. I guess for your body to physically be strong, and I guess that's all you really need. Because when you get older, you're going to get weaker. So the stronger your body is, the better. Do you know what I mean? So, but yeah, I feel like if you do those two things, that's it. You kind of, that's all you really need. But it doesn't have to be lifting weights or running. It can be flipping a sport or body weights, like just doing some sort of push-ups or some sort of like even resistance kind of training.
Just movement of your body, innit? Why do you think people get to that state? Like, what is abnormal movement? Yeah, like what's the mindset of like?
It's emotional issues. It's everything is rooted in your emotional state. Everything, the way you interact with people, your relationships. It's all rooted in your emotional state, and people have emotional issues which they just sort of like, I don't know, they just get into a state of sleepiness, I guess, where they're just so unaware of their body and how they feel and how they should feel, but what good feels like. So they just kind of like, they just kind of get into a state of just, I don't want to go to the gym, I don't want to do this, I want to do that. But it's like, okay, cool, but like, what's like? You must have some intrinsic knowledge, like you need to move your body, do you know what I mean? But if you're saying you don't want to do that, it's like, okay, but why would you not want to feel good? But I feel like it comes down to not knowing how good you can feel. So like, you know, when you've had a session, a hard session, or you've come out of that session, you get that like it's like an orgasmic feeling of just like your body is just like released all that stress. So if you've never done that, not once or very few times, you don't know how good you can feel. So then you're in this state of just almost like unconsciousness of just feeling how you would feel every day, but not knowing that you could actually feel way better. And it's like, I don't know, man. It's just, I just want people just to be aware of this shit, bro. Do you know what I mean? And actually try and improve themselves, because it's just so essential, moving your body.
But it's one thing that I get from people who've gone from like doing literally nothing really, just work, stress, kids, whatever. And then you go to just not even doing a mad regime in the gym, just like you said, just moving, just doing stuff. And then they get a glimpse of their old life. So like they go get a takeaway, or like they go like they like have a shit weekend. They're like, how did I used to live like this?
I am not sort of like above that. Like that's me, bro. I start getting into a good routine. I start feeling good. And then I go fucking drink too much on the weekend, and I'm back again. Literally, this last week was regaining from last Saturday when I didn't go out, but I was at home and I ended up drinking. So this whole week was just recovering from that. So now, obviously, I didn't drink. Obviously, I had a couple beers the last 2 days, but like nothing that's going to make you, nothing that's going to change your like state. So now, obviously, I can build on next week. And obviously, next weekend it's planned. I'm going to Central Sea. I'm going to Manchester. So it's different when it's like when you plan something. And then you sort of plan around it. So you're like, okay, cool. Friday is a drinking day. We're gonna drink probably a bit too much than we need to. But then Saturday's like, cool. We're gonna do something to counteract that. We're either gonna get a little sweat on. And then Sunday we're back again. We don't need the whole week to like recover from that one session. You can get back within a couple of days just by doing. But what happens is, so for example, you drink too much on the Saturday. Then you're like, then you eat some shitty food on Sunday, and Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then you slowly get back. And it's like, if you're on that cycle all the time, 'cause I used to be on them cycles for months until I get me back, and then I'm back in again. It's just like, if you can build on that, good feeling that you have, you can literally do anything. Do you know what I mean? It's mad how much there is out there to do, but we kind of get stuck in our narrow way of thinking. Do you know what I mean?
100%. Yeah, for real.
So what's your sort of like, so you do like online PT at the minute. What's your sort of plan with that?
It's a good question. I just, you know what, man, I just love.
But you've got a lot of freedom right now with it just being online, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the thing that's good. But I feel like I'm still in a stage where I'm still just building it, man. Like I've only been coaching people for 3 years. Like I literally started in a pure gym 3 years ago. So. And I feel like to be incredible at this stuff, you got to put like 10 years in the game, bro. Yeah. Like, I'm under no illusion that it's going to take a long time.
But like, what's the drive for that? Is it to help people? Is it like, because obviously you must see the importance of the gym. So is it like your main drive, just helping people kind of?
Just honestly, just to help people and show people that you have a lot more control over your life than what you think.
Big stuff.
Because the gym is
it's a gateway.
One of the things that it's crazy. And the thing is as well, like I think I said this in the first podcast that we recorded, it's a complete meritocracy. So like,
what do you mean?
Everything that you achieve is based off of your work ethic. And that's it. It doesn't matter how broke you are. It doesn't matter how like what your political position is. Bro, anyone, even if you're just working out from home, anyone can change their physique.
Yeah, man.
And it reflects when people see you walking down the street and you look a certain way. And I don't care if it's fair or if it's unfair. People are like, this person works their ass off. It's as simple as that. Like, so I just want people to feel like that. And then obviously from my own personal place, I want to have more freedom in my life. I don't want to be restricted by an employer or a location or. Do you know what I'm saying?
Bro, 100%.
Yeah, that's really the main driving force, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, so like, because obviously, I guess with the fitness industry, there's so many people doing it. So it's like, how have you sort of thought of any ways you could sort of stand out, or is it just literally building a sort of personal brand and sort of going from there? Is it? Because essentially, it's you, isn't it? You are the business. So is it like?
Yeah.
So what's the sort of plan? Is it just sort of to keep pushing out content? It's a hard game pushing that content, because everyone's pushing that content nowadays. But it's like, I just think it doesn't really matter, because the way I look at it is like obviously this podcast is very small at the minute. It's only kind of like people that like sort of know me that listen to it. But it's like, even sort of last week with not pushing that content, so I'm still getting sort of like 1, 2, 3, 4 likes. So it's just even getting them one like. I look at it like, I don't want to look at it like hundreds or thousands. If just one person gets something out of this, then it's worth it. Do you know what I mean?
100. But like, yeah, with content it's mad because I had to change what my like metric of success was.
Yeah.
So like I would look at a reel that would get like 10 likes. I'm like, oh, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, well, shit. Like then I'd get a reel that gets like 40,000 views and gets like 500 likes. I'm like, oh, it's amazing, but it made me no money.
Yeah.
I didn't gain a client.
Yeah.
Then like no one can know. It didn't help my business. Do you know what I mean? And there's people that are not even in my demographic. Like, I think some people probably have to. If you're in business, I think it might be a bit different maybe for a podcast because yours is all about really like reach and probably numbers. But it's the same like followers. If I have like 5,000 followers but only 10 people buy from me, what's the point? What's the point in having these followers? Whereas you've got 200 people that follow you and 100 people buy from you.
Yeah, and that's it, man. And that's it. I feel like it's all about authenticity as well. Like if you're authentic and you really mean what you say,
that's the one.
And then you have like, I don't know, you have like 100 people that fuck with it. They will want to support you because if your content is changing like their life or just like even just making them feel better about themselves, like they'll support that. They'll donate a £5 or whatever or £10 or whatever, and you'll go from there. Because that's what I'm saying. It's like being a creator nowadays. But the thing is, it's all in your head. It's all in your head. It's like it's all this stuff that you just think. It's all ideas in your head, and when you can really boil it down, it's just like, what do you like doing? Okay, I like talking. I have these conversations. Okay, let me record a podcast. Okay, I do that. Post a podcast. Done.
You deep it too much, innit?
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to like think about the forward plans and what you want and how you want to build it. But it's just like, okay, just take one step, and
literally that,
and just keep going. Like the people that are successful are the ones that just keep going.
That's
Do you know
it.
what I mean? And that's all it essentially is. It's just never giving up, man, and just sort of.
But like you'll see, like even with myself, you'll see that my content now is better than what it was 6 months ago, and it will be better in 6 months from now. Like I'm making mistakes now, and there's things that I can improve on, but it doesn't mean that I just stop making content until it's where I want it to be.
Exactly.
You just make mistakes along the way, and you just get better.
Even with my music, it's like I remember, like I was producing for about 2 years until I finally put something out. And then I knew in my head, I was like, I just need to put something out because then I've got a benchmark to go off the next one. So then I can just make the next one better than that. I can listen to that, and you just get better over time. And it's just like, it's mad to think how trash I was when I first started. I used to think of like the tunes I used to make, but the only thing is I always knew what I wanted to hear. Like I always knew what I wanted to hear, so I knew what I wanted to make. Like I knew how, but it was just like learning the software and learning how to actually make what I have already inside me in my soul. Do you know what I mean? I was just trying to put that into the software to obviously create a sound out of it. But yeah, I used to be so trash. I used to be trash, bro. Like I used to have no clue what I was doing. I was just literally just on Ableton, just doing random shit. And that's how you make something, man. You start doing random shit and then it just turns into something. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
but what do you feel stops people? Because obviously there's people that have these ideas.
It's actual just not wanting it. Like I think the world's binary, but then I also think there's a grey area as well. I just think essentially people that done stuff wanted it, people that never did something didn't want it. But then again, there is a grey area. Like for example, I think like I said before, I think there's a lot of emotional issues that prevent people from taking action. But then I'm like, did you want it then? Or did you really want it?
Yeah, it's one of them.
Do you really love it?
But then,
because I can never see myself not making music. Like I might not become what I envision myself as in like I don't think, maybe there's a chance that I'll like DJ a big stage, but that doesn't really bother me as long as I can just express myself through music in some capacity. That's all I really want, and and that's in my control. I can always make music. I can't guarantee that someone's going to book me to DJ at a place. I can start running my own events, which I think I will do in the future. But you just got to do what you can control. But I feel like sometimes when you get caught up, like, I want to DJ this place, DJ that. It's like if you think about that, it might drive you, or it might just completely just demotivate you,
just cripple you. Yeah, I hear you. But then because it's a bit of a struggle to, obviously you got to have that like I was saying with like fat loss and stuff, you got to have that sympathy with some people. Like everyone's situation is different, but at the same time, I'm like, there's still a way for you to do this thing, but you might just have to take a different route. You can't take the route of somebody who's like 20 with no kids and like has all this other stuff like that isn't taking up their time. But you can still do something. You can still actually start doing something. Do you know what I mean? It's just a different way of doing it.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's definitely good to have sympathy for people, but at the same time, it's like, I mean, it's like sympathy, but it's also like when there's someone that just like, they just don't want to ever look at the old, like a alternative.
Yeah.
Then it's like, how you still feel sorry for them for the fact that they can't see, they just can't make that jump, or they can't see it. But at the same time, and it's just like, well, okay then, what do you want? Like, it's like, you just have to make things as simple as possible. Like, what do you want? I want to feel good. Okay, well, this is how you can feel good. You can start considering what vitamins you're eating in your diet. You can start considering all these things. You can start considering moving your body, getting a sweat on, and you'll feel good. But then they just don't want to even consider doing something different.
I think that's the thing in it. It's complaining about your situation, but then doing nothing about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like if you're in a situation, you actually don't, is that a bad thing? You don't care that you're in that situation. Let's say you're in a situation where, you're just in a situation that may not be ideal in like most people's eyes, but you just don't care. You're just like,
that's what it comes down to, essentially.
What do you actually want, innit?
But that's what I'm saying. It gets hard to know what you actually want sometimes, because you get bombarded with just loads of stuff, whether you're just like the media, social media when you're on stuff, and you're just constantly taking in information.
Yeah.
And people are telling you different things, your friends. It's like, for example, like whenever I used to have like, I don't know if it was dating problems or whatever, when I start calling every single person about this issue, it actually makes it worse, because you're like getting so many different opinions, and then you then don't know how to actually, like, okay, he's saying that. So what do I actually do? Do you know what I mean? And it's good. I'm not saying it's definitely good to get second opinions on things, but like, so I think there's a point where you can get too much, and you don't even really know what you actually think.
It's true, but you also got to ask yourself, like, if you're dealing with a girl, like, why are you getting second opinions on certain things?
That's what I mean. Essentially, you don't need no
second
that's what I'm saying.
Woman, man.
That's what I'm saying. You should already, but it's all learning though. I guess like you get to the point where then you actually do know how to handle situations. But before, when you I don't know, when you didn't see, you didn't get shown how to handle situations, or you didn't have anyone to, you kind of like, fuck, you're kind of in deep waters, and you're like, fuck, like, what the fuck do I do?
100%.
But eventually you learn how to swim, and eventually you learn how to actually handle these situations, and you get better over time. I mean, no one's perfect, but it just comes down to being sort of self-aware of your emotional state.
It's true. Yeah.
But like, I think the way to actually know who you are or what you want is you just need that quiet time. You just need that time where you're in the gym on your own, pumping weights, or you're sitting at home and you're just thinking, and you're like, cool, what do I actually want right now? But when you've always got noise around you, how are you ever going to know who you are?
It's mad, isn't it?
So on that question, like, so who do you think you are? Like, is it like, how have you found yourself? How have you found yourself? Like, was it just like a thing you just did, or did you have to like sort of change sort of route sometimes, or did you have to pivot? Did you have to like?
Well, I feel like, because I was actually speaking to who was it yesterday? I feel like it was what. I was speaking to this guy yesterday, I think when I went to the show, and I was talking about uni. I was like, I don't feel like I should have gone uni, because obviously what I do now, it doesn't require a degree, right? Like, but it
was learning curve, though, isn't it?
But then at the same time, I'm like, but I feel like if I didn't go uni, I wouldn't have gone to the gym.
Yeah.
Also wouldn't have met like certain people. Like, I wouldn't have lived on my own for a year.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been in London. Like, I wouldn't have had to be alone for like hours. Do you know what I mean? So that situation there, uni was a big one. Not even for the degree, bro. Literally just
Same, literally.
getting away from my mum's yard and like fucking like, do you know what I mean? Like, you know what my mum's like, innit? And like fucking like just
beautiful soul, but
do you know what I mean? Like overprotecting mum, all that, and like
mine's the opposite.
Just being away from all that, and then being introduced to like the real world, bro. Like it's not like I went from like Milton Keynes to like fucking like Barnsley. Like I went to fucking London. Bro. I went to London, bro. Like central London, and like you're alone, man.
Yeah.
So that definitely, I think, and then just living here as well, and then like just little things, man. And then along the way, like little jobs that I've had where I've been like, I know that I'm not, I can't be employed.
I already know that.
So then every time I've gone to a job, I'm just like, okay, I don't like this about this. I don't like this about this. Yeah. I like being in a gym, so I'll do this for a little bit, but I need to move on. So,
yeah, it comes down to like, whenever I look at a job description, it's like, I've looked at a few and they look good. Like, yeah, I'm like, cool. A few of them look decent, like in terms of, but I know that it's like, and for years on end though, like I could do it for a bit, but for years on end, I don't know. But yeah, looking at job descriptions, it's just a but like it's just it's just anxiety basically. It's just like fuck, because this ain't me. Like, do you know what I'm saying? I feel like, but then knowing that though, at least it kind of gives you just know then, innit? Like there has to be something else. Like we have to just do something else. We have to like put things in place now that might come into fruition in 10 years or whatever, or 5-10 years or whatever it is. Because it's just like, yeah, I'm the same, bro. That work environment just ain't me.
But I look at mad jobs, I'm just like,
so you're going to be a doctor, innit?
Yeah, that was a plan.
But it was still good though, because you were disciplined. You learned a lot about I guess you would have learned a lot about health and different stuff from doing that. So it's like you still take things from things. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
And that comes down to my point of like, I don't have to. You know how some people, right? They don't necessarily agree with everything that someone says. So they just disregard everything.
Yeah.
For example, I've got Andrew Tate in my mind when I'm thinking about this.
Yeah.
Like, I probably agree with like 85 to 90% of what it's got. You know, actually, even 100%, but I just don't. But then I can see the lines. I can see where there's things where like I kind of understand why he's doing that, and I can be like, yeah, cool. I don't really agree with that, but a lot of what he says, it's like, bro, this guy makes you think. But then because he has an assumption of people like they just disregard it. They don't even want to like contemplate. And like, you could take that in any given scenario. But when you can extract what you want out of something and disregard what you don't want,
why can't people do that? Why can't people look at, let's say, Andrew Tate? I'm not gonna go extreme. I'm not gonna say certain man, because people are like, hey, but what about Hitler?
Donald
Trump,
Trump, all that shit.
Yeah, but
even you can even go as deep as that. Like, it's like, you're never gonna condone someone's behavior. Like, you can't condone killing fucking millions of Jews and shit. But it's like, there could probably be like, the thing is, it comes down to like that all those stuff needed to happen. It, like, I don't know. Do you believe in like, as in like, things have to happen for a reason? Do you know what I mean? It's like, don't you think that mad stuff had to happen for then us to realize that was mad? So at least you can even take that was fucking insane what he done. Do you know what I mean? Because if that didn't happen, I don't know. Maybe I'm playing shit.
I feel like hindsight has given you the ability to say that. I feel like being able to look back and be like, yeah, this must have happened because now we can look at this, and because I feel like we have that hindsight.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But I feel like, why can't
yeah, I get what you're saying, but it's just like, I don't know. I know what you're saying in terms of hindsight, but it's like, if that didn't happen, let's say, for example, obviously it did happen, but it's like, if these things didn't happen, we then wouldn't be able to sort of, we wouldn't even be able to reflect on them and talk about how bad they were.
For sure. Yeah.
It's like, even in that, that's kind of, it's still like, it comes down to this thing of like good and bad, and having too much of a limited perspective just to think things are good and bad. Do you know what I mean? Whereas it's like, I don't know, there's not really necessarily a good and a bad. Things are good and bad, and you kind of just navigate yourself around it. Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
For sure.
I don't know if that makes sense.
For sure. No, I hear you. I mean, what would you feel like is the reason that people, let's just say they look at Andrew Tate,
yeah,
and they're like, I just don't like him. Why? Like, it's like, you can't, hear anything that you say, and it's just like
ignorance, really. And I feel like not being an open person.
Yeah.
And I think it comes down to this thing of like, I was saying it when I was chatting to Elliot in the podcast. Does everyone need to be open, self-aware, like, you know what I mean, just sort of reflective, that kind of thing? Or do some people is it better for them just to be asleep? Because I think it's painful though, like looking at yourself and thinking, fuck, like, what did I do wrong here? Or how did I, taking the accountability for everything. It's not easy. But then again, at the same time, it's like, if I didn't do that, then I'll just be fucking, I don't know, I'll just be doing random stuff that just doesn't yield me any benefits. It's like, is the pain of taking accountability worse than just
the pain of not doing it? Yeah.
That's the thing. So it's like, I guess it comes down to the individual. For me, I can't live like that. But then someone else, the pain of taking accountability is way too much than just carrying on. But for me, the pain of not taking accountability is way too much than taking accountability. Yeah. So I guess maybe that's what it is.
Yeah. Which is a lot of the stuff that, like, when it comes to Andrew Tate, I'm a bit like, he's kind of got a point.
Bro, I agree.
Certain accountability.
I agree with
especially with men, like when it comes to men and just like taking control of your life. And I don't want to get too deep into that COVID shit and all that stuff, but like, thinking for yourself and not relying on a government body and think that they have your best interest at heart. Because I think that's a bit silly. I think that's really silly. And getting involved in the games of left and right and race wars and men versus women and men are trash and women are this and men are that.
It is all insanity, mate.
I think it's all just a silly little game. And I think just taking control of your life, doing other things is what a lot of guys need, bro. Like, genuinely.
Everyone needs it, to be honest, but I think the masculine, the thing is, forget men and women, just let's think about masculine and feminine. But obviously most men are masculine, most girls are feminine. But yeah, that masculine drive, the thing is, everyone has both as well. Like, it's just we have more masculine, they have more feminine. Sure. But it's like, yeah, that masculine, you do need that, because it's like, are you just gonna let people control your life all the time? Like, are you just not gonna ever stand up for anything? You're just gonna kind of just, let me just go get a jab. Like, okay, but like, have you questioned why? Why do you need that? Like, but the thing is, it comes down to also common sense as well. And just sort of like, I think it's also an intelligence thing as well. Because if you can't understand if you can't see why you didn't need to get that jab, if you actually don't understand that, just from a logical point of view, just common sense, then I don't know, innit? But then again, there are very intelligent people, like doctors and people that went to like, and also it's how you view intelligence, because you could be very academically intelligent, like very like sort of like you can process a lot of information, you can do all that stuff, but then emotionally you're just an idiot because you actually believe that this was good for you. Like all these doctors, all these like medicine students that were like proposing this to the death. It's like, we're just so far away from nature, bro. Yeah, we're so far away from nature, man.
I think during that time there wasn't I'm trying to be careful with how I'm saying shit.
Just say shit, bro.
But like, I'm trying to say shit, man.
It gets to the point where like, I'm just saying shit now, bro. Like, I'm not holding.
That's what a podcast is for, though, isn't it? Yeah, it's your own platform,
shit,
bro.
Like, I'm just saying shit, man.
No, but like, I don't think that the primary focus should have been weight management, because that was the biggest risk factor when it comes to dying from any virus.
Being overweight is not healthy.
And I was actually
there's no way, like, something you can even take calories for yourself. Being your weight is not healthy.
This is what I say. This is what I say to people. And I actually might still do it.
What?
As in, because I see bodybuilders that are heavier than me,
yeah,
or like just bodybuilding in general, who are obviously carrying weight, and they'll make posts like, mock, like, if you're obese, you can't.
Yeah,
you're gonna die. I'm like, bro, like, have you checked your BMI?
Yeah.
Like, bro, like, you are obese as well. Like,
yeah,
there's a reason that you don't see people that are huge over 60. When's the last time you saw a really big old person?
The only difference is like having. I guess the only difference would be, obviously there is a kind of difference in terms of like having strong muscles is definitely going to be better than not having strong muscles and being fat. Because you can actually, at least you can actually carry your weight, but it's still not optimal health, is it?
Yeah, of course. Like you're gonna have if you're obese, you're gonna have more things like visceral fat. Your body's not gonna be conditioned to any really sort of sports or activity. There's that difference, but it's still not good to be heavy. And like, I was listening to because Steve-O went on Joe Rogan's podcast the other day. Yeah, I was listening to that. He was like, "How many old people do you see smoke?" It was like, you see a lot of them, but how many big old people do you see? You don't, bro. You don't see it. Like, you see, like, that's how major it is. That's how major your size. Even tall people, bro. Tall people, even dogs. Like, look at dogs. Like, big dogs live less than small dogs.
But the thing about it logically, though, even a tall person, they take up more. It's more, I don't know, atoms, more like whatever it is. It's more mass, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just stress.
Yeah, so essentially, but yeah, that's just one of them ones, isn't it? But obviously, you can't change being tall or anything.
For sure.
But like, you can definitely change how much fucking like, and also it's like, I've never been overweight in it, but I guess I've never really carried mad weight, but like I've definitely, when I was like, because naturally I'm about 80 to 82 kg, 83, but I reckon 82 kg is literally, because when I eat a lot, but I don't actually, to be fair. Like obviously, you know, my routine of fasting and whatnot. But it's like this just feels right. This feels right. Like being this, like I've got muscle. I've got a good amount of muscle.
Yeah.
I've not much fat anymore, and it just feels right.
For sure.
But like, so for example, when I was like 96, I think my heaviest was probably like 96. I had a bit of a belly and shit. But like, yeah, you just feel like you're just carrying. You don't need to be carrying that weight. Like, even you must feel like, because you're carrying a lot of weight, so it must be a bit like sort of
one of my least favorite things about bodybuilding is pushing food and putting on size. For me, because the thing is when I was dieting, like I was losing weight, and also I was doing cardio, I felt great, bro.
Yes.
I felt fantastic. Like up to a certain point, I felt great.
Yeah.
But then obviously you get to a certain, it just becomes extreme again.
So what's your goal then? Is it to like, are you trying to compete again, or you just want to feel good? Or
Like you've got federations where you basically have guys that take steroids like gear.
Yeah, I know. Natural.
Got, like federations that are natty, whatever, natural. I just want to stay natural, man, because I'm not willing to put my body in a place where enhancement would take me.
Yeah.
And I just don't want to make that investment. So my goal is just see how far I can take natural body. I would like to kind of become a pro in a natural federation, but realistically, the most important thing for me is my business. And I don't want to take things to a point where I feel like bodybuilding hinders my business.
Yeah.
So like if I'm taking gear and I'm pushing to like 300 pounds, like 130 kilos, and I have to nap all day or like eat 6-7 meals a day, how am I gonna work properly? It just makes things.
You're gonna have to take care of the women as well, bro. You can't perform the same way.
Do you know what I mean? It's just bro.
You can't perform the same way.
It's it's just not for me. I just don't think that route is for me. Which has changed a lot over the past like couple of years.
Yeah, but you do it and you kind of realise that's the whole thing about bodybuilding. It's like, I know we talked about it before, and I guess obviously in one light you could see it as an art form in terms of just like wanting to transform your body, but and obviously everyone's going to view things differently, but it's like, I don't know, man, like going through all of that. Then again, it's like just because I just don't understand it, innit? I just don't understand that.
For sure.
But it's just one of those things. Yeah, it's very detrimental to that. Obviously, your longevity. Do you know what I mean? Is it worth? Because the thing is, I guess what are you? So you're trying to get the best physique possible. But if you're pushing gear, for me, natural bodybuilding would make more sense. Like that would make more sense because you're doing things that's not like.
For sure, but you got to bear in mind here as well that like people are paying to watch this, so like they want freaks. They want to look at someone and they want to be like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
They don't want to look at someone and be like, oh, like if I spent like 5 years like working hard, I could probably. You want to look at someone and be like, oh, okay, that's mad.
And I guess it's like, it's also good to see what the extreme would look like.
Exactly.
So then therefore, like, for example, me, like I've always liked lean physiques. I don't like massive physiques. So I think, isn't the more lean ones, like, isn't that classic? Because I do think classic physiques,
they're like
do look
smaller. There's like a weight limit and that sort of thing. So
see, I prefer lean. Like, I've always liked a lean physique, like as in like not too like that.
You can't even like wipe your own ass properly, or like you can't even like lie down. Or it's like
like
way out of it.
Yeah, you're just like literally that's just you normally. Like your lats are literally like a fucking like a shelf, bro. Like you put your, you know what I mean? Like it's mad, isn't it? Like you actually can't move. But yeah, I've always liked lean physiques. Like a physique that you look fit, like you look like you're able to sort of like, if you needed to dust out, you could dust out.
Yeah.
And if you needed to sort of like protect yourself and sort of like, I don't know, like pin a man down or something, you could do that as well. And like where you got the balance between two. That's always kind of where I've wanted to sort of like sort of fall.
But that's you personally, yeah. But like, it's the same with like running. Like, would you rather read a book about a guy? Would you rather talk to a guy like Ellis who's running 145 miles, or would you rather speak to a guy who's running 5 miles? You're more interested in the extreme.
Yeah,
you want to see the extreme. People love David Goggins because he's crazy. Because he's like,
true.
Like you're not really bothered about mediocrity. It's like the same with Andrew Tate. He's extreme.
He's extreme.
Donald Trump, he's extreme.
Yeah,
all this shit is just to do with like, if you're polarizing, you get more attention. So like bodybuilding, it's just more attention.
You're right.
It's why natural bodybuilding is just not. It doesn't get that attention because it's not as extreme. It's not as mind blowing. People just want freaks, bro. People just want like anomalies in life. They just want to see what you can do when you're crazy.
It's like UFC fighting as well, like that. Like, bro, that's crazy, bro. When you actually think about it, like 2 men in a cage agreeing to fight for 25 minutes. Yeah. So it's barbaric, but it's like it's so good.
You want to watch it.
Yeah, you want to watch it.
You want to see it, man. Yeah.
But it's just it's one of them things there. But so. We talked about it on the last pod, but like I feel like I'm in a better headspace to actually explain it more.
It's not hungover now.
Yeah, bro, I'm not doing pods hungover, which is not the one, bro. And I don't even like being hungover. But anyway, so spirituality, God, your perspective.
Yeah.
Hit me with it.
So like, what if I believe in a God, or
just as in like, because my perspective of spirituality and God is. I just think it's all nature, and I just think there's so I've had moments when I've like been meditating, or even when I've been making music, or I've been DJing, and if I wasn't conscious, it would just be like, hey, yeah, whatever, like, just happened, in it. But when you add consciousness on top of that, and you can actually see how you felt and what it was. It just seems to be a divine presence, and that divine presence is literally just being present. It's nothing like crazy, but like when you're totally present in the moment, and there's like this it's like this energetic feeling that you get. And I think that's what God is. I think that's what the divine is. That's what all these teachings were about in religion. I don't know. That's just my perspective anyway. And yeah, I just think there's an energy that you carry when you are living in accordance to present moment, which essentially is the divine, in my opinion. And I feel like if you're not in that, and essentially it's just like a loving feeling that you have when you're in the present moment. You're just in the moment. You're not dwelling on shit. And I feel like that's kind of what my perspective of spirituality and sort of whatever you want to call it is. There's not really a label for it. It's just divine living. And I feel like that's when you're not. And I feel like we're kind of going further away from that. I don't know, just in terms of anything that throws you out of that feeling.
Just distracted from it.
Yeah. And yeah, so would you sort of agree with that, or what would you say is sort of like I don't know, or do you just think we are just kind of happen to be here? And I think it also is sort of, we are just here for whatever reason, but I feel like it just seems to be that when you're in that feeling of love, in wherever it is, that just seems to be what it is. And when you're not in that, you have to get back to that somehow. And then when you're in it, and it's feel like it's a sort of fleeting thing that you have. I don't know.
My thing with that is, how do you, because you obviously perceive that feeling to be a certain way.
Yeah.
How do I know if I'm having that feeling? Is it universal? How do we make that feeling universal? Because that's what it's got to be. If we're like, this is what. But
love. But you know what I'm saying when I say that? It's like, it's.
But you might experience that in a different way to me.
Yeah, but I don't think that's necessarily the issue. I think that's fine. It might be more intense for me, less for you, more whatever. Like, that's fine. But it's just like, in that, you know what it is when you're just in a flow of just, I'm cool, I'm here, I'm blessed. And I feel like that's what it is. And I feel like it kind of gets twisted. And I don't know, it could be whatever, but I just feel like thinking that there's something out there that's like making you feel a certain way, I just think that just takes the power away from you. But if you are this divine thing that you have access to, then. So you think it's just within you? You think? Yeah, I think everybody is it. Like everything, right. Every human, every animal, every this, every that. We're all connected in it. You can never be out of it. I know also when I said you're out of love, but like you're still in love even though you're out of love, but your mind's taking you away from it. Right. Because you're getting poisoned. You can obviously agree with the poison that we have nowadays, where we just get made to believe so much bullshit. COVID, fucking governments, this and that, working 9 hours a day, 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day, and you just constantly stress, and you're out of your perspective is out of it, even though you can never be out of it. Does that make sense? For sure. And I just feel like it's just a oneness of just living life. It's as simple as that. I hear you. And I just think it all comes down to perspective, really. And it's like, yeah, I just feel like, because you all know it. I think some people, they never even have to speak about it. They can just be whatever, cool. But when you've kind of been had so much moments of like anxiety, stress, whatever you call it, you kind of had to find it. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. Did you have to find it, or did you just? I don't know. Have you ever, in those moments of like anxiety, or maybe like just sort of being lost, how did you then get found again? Or have you even like ever thought about it like that? Yeah, that's a bit mad. So let's just take, for example, a time when you just sort of felt the most anxious about a certain thing. You have to say what it was. How did you then come out of that? Or was it just like a gradual thing where time heals all kind of thing? You just got to do shit that you enjoy, man. Like stuff that takes your mind away from that. And then as time goes on, it passes. You know what I mean? Like recently going through my breakup, I literally you just got like, it was either like work, like getting like extra busy, or like just going out, like just doing sort of like going to the gym, or just stay in a routine and just don't dwell. And also understand that it's normal to get anxious, and it's normal. Yeah, and I also think there's a difference between dwelling and like actively thinking. So like when you're dwelling, you're kind of like, you're going over what I could have done, the stuff that's just like within your control. What did I do? Sure. The other thing is, even what did I do? That's a decent question to ask, because then you can improve going on. But like just thinking about it in a way of like, do you know what I mean? Just a way that's not productive. But then you can also think in the moment where you're like, okay, cool, sort of doing your thing, and you're like, okay, cool, like thinking about it. But then as you're thinking about it, you're like, it's more of a conscious effort to like actually improve the situation, rather than sort of just negatively just letting it affect your life to a point where like you're not even carrying on with anything you've got to do. But it's like, yeah, I just think you need that perspective of God or whatever, to either just to help you, or maybe you don't have to think about it as God. You can think about it as like, I don't know, however you want to think about it, but just having that perspective of just like, essentially, if I'm just here, if I'm just a being that's breathing, yeah, okay, cool, I'm gonna have, because this is the way I think about it. It's like there's a divine feeling of just presence, which is one part of me. And then there's also me, the experience, Kieran, the experience. So the bundle of experience that I've had lead up to me being this, but then I'm also just a divine presence that just happens to be your life. So me having that perspective of just being, I'm just here, but then having the experience as well, they both make me the human being. So I can't have one without the other. But knowing that I have both, I can always return to just being alive. So if I'm stressed about, I don't know, a girl or whatever, I can return to this because I have this perspective. But if I didn't have this perspective, I'm just going to run around in a loop of just my own kind of like ego, my own experience, and then therefore you don't ever. Yeah, it's just never ending, isn't it? So I feel like you may have that perspective of what I'm talking about, but then you just don't process it the same way.
I don't process it the same way as you.
Yeah,
100%.
And that's all it is essentially.
I'm very like. You probably look into it a bit more than myself. I'm just very like, this is just my emotions, and I'm just gonna go to the gym, man. I don't know about you. Like, I'm just gonna go just go out and drink or whatever. Like, or I'm just gonna just go have some fun or whatever. But I don't think about it as like spirituality and presence and that sort of thing, because like, I just don't. It's just something that I've never really. I've thought about it, but it's not something that I've really considered before. I don't know. Like with a God as well. Like I don't believe in a God and that sort of thing. So I never even.
The thing is, this God question, because I don't believe in an organized way of thinking. So when it comes down to religion and stuff, right? It's like, for me, so like when people say God, it's like, so when a Christian says God, when a Muslim says God, when a Muslim person says God, when a Catholic person says God, are they talking about the same thing, or are they talking about something different? Because essentially, how can there be 2,700, how many?
And the rest, bro.
So how can there be so it's like, so what is it that you're talking about really? So like, are you like, I just don't believe in any organized way of thinking or being. I believe that everyone has an individual, like for example, what I said before, you have an individual experience that makes you like doing what you like doing. And then we're all connected to this kind of just life.
Yeah. Right.
But like when you're like, I don't know, when you're like sort of, when people are trying to sort of guide the way that you should live your life in a certain way by saying God this, God that, it's like, okay, cool. So I think I believe in a God, but like I don't think about it as God. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, if you just
when someone says God to me, I think there's a supreme thing.
Yeah, see, we are God. I look at God as in, we are God. Like everyone's God because everyone's alive. Everyone has this sort of, everyone has the ability to sort of think and perceive and do what they want. That's what God is. God isn't something out there that's guiding your life.
Yeah.
You are guiding your life. You have to, and that's the thing. That's when people think that's God is out there guiding their life. For me, all that seems to create is just
lack of accountability.
Yeah, and also kind of like guilt tripping all the time. People just feel guilty.
Yeah. Because
they just feel like if they're not doing what in this guideline of the way of living, then they're not. And also, I don't think there's anything wrong with culture. So like Muslim people may have a different culture, or Christian people may have a different culture. That's fine. But when you're like, and I guess maybe culture is issues. So if you bring a culture from somewhere else to here, for example, and then you're getting told that you have to live the same way that you would have lived over there here, then that's kind of where people kind of get a bit sort of stuck sometimes. They're like, okay, cool, this would have worked over there because we are just all I'm around is people that are the exact same as me. But then when you're like now in a culture of like where there's different people around, and then you're being told that you can't be friends or you can't have a relationship with someone that's not in the same culture as you,
which is crazy.
But you've had interactions with them that's kind of like made you want to be with them, but then you can't because of your culture. Yeah. It's like, bro, what are we doing?
It's tough, isn't it? It's tough.
Because I get why, because it would have worked back in African cultures or whatever, like where they're like, even English cultures where like there was just English people here or whatever, that it would have worked. But it's like, I don't know, bro. It's just, can we not see that we're all just the fucking same, bro? It's so crazy. We're all just bundles of energy. And then, but then we just think we're different because I have a different religion or I'm a different race. What does that mean? Like, I'm someone that I have to think about things deeply because I'm like, it just never made sense to me. Me being black and someone else being white, it was like, okay, cool. And also, I think it's my experience. And my experience of being black and white made me think, wow, what the fuck? So if you were just black and you had black parents, you maybe not wouldn't question it as much as I would. But because I had a black dad and I knew I had a black dad, my dad wasn't around when I was young, but cool. But I knew I had a black dad. And I had a white mum. And then I'm like, and I'm going through school, I'm going through life, and I'm like, okay, cool. So this kid's white and this kid's black. And they really believe it. And also just when I'm sort of got a bit older and I'm like seeing like sort of cliques of like black people and like white people, I'm like, okay, cool. But like, what does that even mean? Doesn't mean anything, but we believe. It's like ideas are fine. There's nothing wrong with having ideas. But like ideas are as real as you make them. So if you can understand that, you could have the idea of being black and honor that and be like, yeah, I'm proud to be black, which is fucking fine. But you're not fully attached to that idea. You know it's an idea. So you're like, okay, cool. I'm black. Yeah, I like my culture. I like it, but I also understand that it's just an idea, and I can just sort of be in a moment and just sort of do whatever the moment requires for me in that moment, rather than sort of, I'm black. Fucking this and that, and you're walking around like this and that.
And it's your identity. Whereas you can basically, or you can just live your life on your terms, not through the restrictions of your race or through your culture or whatever it may be. But
so coming back to like the feeling of like, so it's like, coming back to like the feeling of like love or whatever. So I feel like when you're in love, you're in flow, you just do whatever the moment requires. And that's it. But then when you're not, you kind of like, because I'm thinking back to when I wasn't in love and I wasn't in the moment. I was just so like, I was believing so many ideas in my head about whatever situation I was in. But then when I kind of went to the sort of edge of anxiety, or what we want to call it, I kind of realized that shit, this is all just like, the world's completely open. There's no absolutes in anything. In terms of like, so I would walk into a room, anxious per se, and think that this guy doesn't like me for whatever reason. Which could have been true, could have not been true. I don't know, unless I asked him directly. So then if I was anxious, like kind of like walking in the room like that. And if I walk in the room, not anxious, calm, so it's the same thing. So he could not like me or he liked me. So it doesn't change anything. So when you can kind of get to that level of thinking where you're like, cool, rah. So if I'm sitting in my bed thinking, what's the point? What's the point? Okay, cool. There's no point. If you look at that in a negative way, so there's no point, so I might as well die. Why don't you flip on its head? There's no point. There's no point. Then why don't I just do what I want to do? What's going to make me feel good?
The world's going to keep turning.
Because there's no point. So no point could be looked at as negative or positive in the way that you perceive it.
For sure.
And that's all it is essentially.
Yeah.
Because I had to go, because the thing is, for example, we can link it back to David Goggins. I feel like his path was so severe that he had to go to that point of literally, because he has to do that. So I'm the same in terms of like, I have to think about things to the edge, because I'm like, because of my path, because of the way that I grew up and whatever, I had to think about these things. I'm like, cool, this doesn't make sense. So I had to go there. Whereas other people, they don't have to be burdened with that, which is fine. And it's essentially, it all comes back to just things are what they are, and you just sort of, and that's it really. So it's literally as simple as that. But I had to go to that because I had so much sort of like pent up pain or whatever from my childhood or whatever. Nothing bad, but it just is what it is. And so I had to kind of unravel that, and then you kind of come to the point of like, okay, cool, I'm just blessed. Where someone else that maybe didn't have as much emotional pain, just come to that conclusion anyway, because they were shown that. Because it's a thing that you have to get shown. You can't really get told it. You have to get shown it. You have to get shown love. You have to get shown what that is. It's like, so, and that's it. And once you find it on your own, you're like, cool now.
Yeah, it's liberating.
It is really liberating to sort of be happy with whatever the moment is going to be at that moment of time. And don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect as well. Like, trust me, like I've had moments even in the last week where I'm like kind of just like just the anxious feeling come back up. But having the knowledge of it, then you can kind of, even when you're in those moments, you can still be conscious.
Yeah, literally.
So you can still watch yourself when you're in those moments, you know what I mean?
Just aware, innit? Just aware.
Rather be aware, man. This is the whole point of the podcast. This is why I believe in it so deeply. You have to be aware of yourself.
It's true. Yeah.
To the point that you need to be aware. Before I was questioning, so does everyone need to be aware? And it's just to the point of what you need. It's getting to the root of what you need.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I do hear you.
But anyway, man, that was an hour. I don't want to keep these. I want to keep these like
nice and short.
Not short, but like obviously an hour is enough. Because I feel like sometimes you can sort of ramble on a bit. But
yeah, that's fine.
But that was sick, man. I do appreciate you coming on, and we'll definitely run it back.
Oh.
Sick. It